My name is Matthew Future, and I'm the creator and host of Gems from Friends podcast. If you're new here, welcome to season 5, and make sure you check out the past seasons. If you're returning, thank you so much for your support. However, if you're not subscribed yet, please do so and click on the notification bell. It does a lot for this channel and for the other content creators in Barbados. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy this episode. All right, so the person in front of me is Pierre Soro, well known as Chef P. Chef P, P is for Pierre, right?
P is for prosperity, P is for profit. But also, yeah, my parents named me Pierre.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, man. So everybody that I have on the show we are usually friends, so we go way back. So I like to start by letting my community know like how we get to know each other and how far we go.
Way back.
You won't go back there?
We go back to astronomical days.
DJ, man. Gee.
Yeah. What a life. What a life. Yeah, I mean, how many years is that? Probably like 18 almost?
Yeah, that's a good 18, 20. Before you done mixing ingredients, you done mixing tunes.
Yeah, I was doing a similar thing around the same time. This was back when I used to live in Barbados. This is maybe like 2009 to 2011 era. And I was, this is when Lime Grove was just like beginning to be a building. And I had a space downstairs in Lime Grove. And then I was doing some DJing at the same time. And yeah, that's when Puffy had just started DJing and he had just come on the scene. And there was like this new nightclub called, what was it, Priva?
Priva was supposed to be upstairs, Lane Grove.
On the rooftop.
Yeah.
Never worked out, but anyways, that had got me into just doing like some DJing and partying, being on some of the party scenes and stuff like that. And yeah, that's when we first connected. And that was like, that was almost 15, 20 years ago.
That's what, I mean, it don't feel that long though.
Nah.
I mean, like, when you really think about it, think about 20 years ago. That's half our life.
That's more than half of my life for sure. I still look good though. We still look good.
Yeah, for
20 years passed and we look better than we did when 20 years ago. Give thanks for good genes.
Yeah, man. So all right, so you started DJing and then you went into the food. I always wanted to know like how you made that transition away, or you were always in food. You was always in food.
I was always in food, but I've always wanted to like entertain in a sense. Mm-hmm. And at that time, that was when I was like first experimenting and exploring sort of my creativity. And I love music and I love the vibes. And I think that is such a integral part of dining and that sort of culinary experience that, at that young age, I was mixing and I wanted to see what it was like. So I was kind of juggling the lifestyle between chef and DJ, which was pretty intense because you're doing as a chef in a restaurant. I was working early in the morning. I used to bake my own bread, so I have to be there early in the morning.
Right.
But then we were still playing at the clubs and stuff later and at the parties late. So I would be out until, I don't know, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I have to be at the restaurant sometimes by 6 to have the bread in the oven. It was a crazy life. I don't live like that anymore, though.
Yeah. But I think that it's crazy how you used to do that because you're still not far from, like, how you put things together. Mm-hmm. And, like, you do a lot of cooking, but you do it in a performance way. So you still get to perform and still cook. Not necessarily DJing, but in a different way, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think that just that added element of vibes is something that people are looking for nowadays. Just in general, like with chefs, I feel like there was always just so one-dimensional. I used to be just like an old fat white guy, and he used to tell you, put heavy cream in this and put butter in this. And I don't cook like that. All of my food is Afro-centric, Afro-Caribbean, and rooted in obviously a lot of nostalgic foods in Barbados that I grew up eating. But also something that comes with that is the rhythm. Mm-hmm. Even just being a Caribbean, being a Bajan, we have rhythm embedded in our DNA. And I felt like it was just necessary for us to kind of cross the disciplines a little bit instead of just being so one-dimensional. It's like, all right, cool, food, but then also what goes into having good vibes while you're eating food, and the music is a main thing too. And just like the actual energy in the space and the sounds, the smells, the lighting, all of that. So yeah, it's the process has just evolved from being like DJ vibes, but to now more kind of curating the entire experience around
Right.
the scene. And
So a lot of your past experience, you still kind of play a part now.
oh, big time. I definitely take a lot of the stuff that I've learned over the years and just figure out how to reapply it and evolve the practice from what it was then to make it make sense now.
Right. So you left Barbados. You born in Barbados?
No, my father is a Bajan, and so I'm a first generation American born.
Okay.
So I'm a Bajan Yank. That's why I go. That's what they call us. But I'm a Bajan citizen. You know, I got dual citizenship. I got my passport.
Right.
And I spend a lot of time out here. So, am I born here? No, but I do consider myself a Bajan all day. You know?
Yeah. So what age you were at when you came?
I mean, the first time I came to Barbados, I was 6 months old, and you know, I've been here long enough since. You know?
So you Beijing.
Yeah, I know the back roads all along in the gullies in St. John and in town, and you know, I've been on this island my whole life.
Right. So St. John is where you grew up.
No, I grew up in town, Bridgetown.
In Bridgetown.
But I've been around the island to the point where I know my way around.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. So we consider you Beijing.
Yeah, for sure. I don't have you know, my accent isn't always on, but it's turned on and off like a light.
Your accent on roaming.
Yeah, it's on roaming.
like self service depending on where you are.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. So I just want to get a idea like your education, like where you went to school, and like I want to get into like from the beginning, like, and then when did you actually know that cooking was your passion? So what was your first passion?
I mean, my first passion was probably playing sports because that was something I did when I was young. You know, I played football, swam, play football or whatever, and I think food has always been kind of embedded in me though, because my grandmother and her sisters on my father's side down here in Barbados, they were really serious bakers. So my auntie Yvonne, she actually had a spot, you know, there in Sheridan Mall called Yvonne's, and her two sisters, my grandmother Betty and auntie Serena, they all used to bake together. Right. And we would spend a lot of time in the kitchen with them. So from young, I was surrounded by it down here, and then my mom also back home was a serious baker.
Okay.
So I've always been around food. My mom used to have us doing different competitions in the kitchen to see who didn't have to wash dishes. Like whoever peels the potatoes the fastest doesn't have to wash dishes.
Right.
You know, so we were always in the kitchen at a young age. So it's kind of just embedded in me. All my siblings can cook. All my cousins can cook. Everybody in my family could cook. It's never really a question as to what we having for dinner. It's just like who's making it. Yeah, man, and that just evolved when, you know, through my adolescence, you know, kind of being torn in between the street activities and having to decide like which sort of path I was gonna go. You know, I decided to just lean more towards the food scene. I had an older cousin and my sister, they went to culinary school, and you know, I had the opportunity through a culinary program that I was doing in the US to go to Italy.
Okay.
And for like my externship sort of stage phase out there for, you know, for a few months. And yeah, that changed my life, you know, taking that leap, living in another country, not knowing the language, but pushing myself to try something new and step outside of what I was comfortable with.
What was your first job in Barbados?
First job in Barbados was washing cars. But then my first job in the culinary space was actually, shout out to Sandra Hart, because she had like this sweet old woman. She had a catering company there on the South Coast, like close to the ABC highway over there. And yeah, she gave me, like, a friend of mine, his mom was cool with her, and she gave me a job, and I was doing like little work with her and her catering company. And then from there I ended up going to work on the West Coast and being at like Tamarind Cove Hotel and doing some work at the Cliff and the Tides with Larry Rogers and stuff like that. And then I ended up at Lime Grove opening up Relish.
Right.
and
Yeah, I remember Relish.
and then doing some stuff at One Sandy Lane and things like that. But my first job in the food industry out here was at Sandra Hart Catering, and that was like a very small, humble catering company. But she gave me an opportunity, and that kind of just gave me some motion.
Right.
And from there, just the growth has been exponential.
So what made you exit Barbados?
Man, to be honest, I was getting into a lot of beef with people out here, just from, haters gonna hate, and cats who felt like I was encroaching. It was like some chef beef out here, and also I had some. I was young at that age, I was maybe like 20, 21, and the person I was doing business with kind of finessed me on the actual business side of things. So when that happened, I decided that I needed to kind of take a step away from what I was doing and go explore some new stuff, something else. And yeah, that was a learning lesson for me, because that was like the first time I really been finessed in business, but hasn't happened since.
Right.
But yeah, I left the island maybe in 2011 and moved to New York. When I moved to New York, I didn't know anybody there. All I had with me was a duffel bag, like maybe like $1,500, and I went and crashed on somebody's couch, and I ended up staying in their crib for like a few months until I hustled and got my money up, and then ended up moving and figuring it all out. But
Right.
yeah, it was a big leap.
So when you say you were a finesse in business, obviously there's some things that you didn't know at that time. You could tell me, what do you know now that you didn't know then? If you had to go back into it again.
Yeah, well, like back then, like I had gotten like a contract in terms of like equity ownership and basically like compensation and stuff like that. And I guess the contract that was presented to me wasn't like a real contract or something like that. And then basically when things started to get dicey, like in terms of we weren't seeing eye to eye on the creative and like how the business was going to go or how the business was working. I was expecting that I was going to get paid out a certain amount of money for, for the amount of work that I'd done, et cetera, et cetera. And she ended up not having to pay me any money and kept the business, and then ended up building maybe 3 more locations on the island based off of the IP that I had created,
Right.
And at the time for me, I was like, damn, I got finessed. But then I also saw the silver lining, because I was like, all right, cool. If this person could start multiple business chains off of some simple recipes and business concepts that I put together when I was 20, 21, there's plenty more where that came from. So I kind of just took it on the chin and kept it pushing.
What would you have done differently though?
I would have read the contract. I would have consulted with somebody who knows business a little bit, more than I did when I was young, because, when you're young and you get in opportunities and things like that, you feel like
Yeah.
because like you got a little motion, but in all reality, if you've never dealt or handled with certain situations before, there's really no way for you to tell or understand how it's going to go or how it could possibly play out. So I would just would have seeked a little bit more guidance from somebody who was a little bit more experienced in the space, because then I would have been able to like see the holes in like the contract that I was given or whatever, and then be able to adjust from there.
I find as creators, we get overpowered by the passion, and then we just, our blinders is just on to that, and then we are not really like looking into the business side of things, because obviously it's boring. Like no one wants to read like a black and white, contract. So yeah, I would say like you gotta take your eyes off the creativity a little bit and focus on that part, because that part is important.
The business is everything.
Yeah, that's what's gonna allow you to keep being creative.
Exactly. That's what's gonna help drive that creativity. And like, I know a lot of creatives who are like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. But at the end of the day, like you need money for tools and for supplies and to experiment and do stuff and just to live. So
you want to live off of it, right?
Yeah, you want to make it a living. You don't want to just be like a struggling artist or a struggling anything,
Exactly.
So taking your time to understand and learn the ins and outs of the business, it's not going to happen overnight. It could take you years. You know, it's taken me years to get to this point, but it's done a lot of justice. The work and the time that you put in is well worth it. I mean,
Yeah. Or you find like a coach or a consultant or somebody that you trust that can look over those things for you.
for sure. But still always have your eyes on it, because you should also understand the language in contracts and in decks. And, you know, even if it doesn't make sense to you at first, always find a reference to somebody that you can ask and be like, look, I understand this, but what does this mean? Just so you can have a full understanding of it. Because if you're getting a contract now, it should, hopefully, if it's your first, hopefully it shouldn't be your last. So
Yeah.
you should be able to read contracts and be able to give your notes to somebody else before they even give you their own notes.
Correct.
You know, you should be able to spot things that are funny and be like, oh, I don't like the way that sounds. And, you know, you never want to be subject to somebody else's decision making, especially when it comes to you.
Yeah. And as a creative, you are an inventor. And then that person is taking, as you said, your IP and duplicating it.
Absolutely. And then, like, even if you find somebody that you think you might trust, you know, you never really know, you know, what people's MO and what their motives are. So it's very good to just have that bit of background and just, you know, confidence in yourself that, like, nah, I looked over that and then I understand what that contract says. Not just like, hey, read this, let me know what you think.
Right.
You know, because then you still don't really know. It's like having somebody give you a summary for a book that you didn't read.
Exactly. I want to go back when you talk about like the beef part of things, where there's like people at each other's neck. What do you think? What do you think is that?
I feel like it's a scarcity mentality.
Right.
I think that people see somebody who's talented in their same space, their same creative field, and get, you know, maybe a little intimidated with the idea that somebody else could get money that they want to get. But at the end of the day, it's like there's plenty of it out here, especially in the hospitality space. Like, Barbados is such a melting pot for different communities and different cultures, especially here in like the global South, that, I mean, chef opportunities and food opportunities, events and things like that, they're, you know, respectfully, it's a dime a dozen out here. It's like 10 parties a week.
Yeah.
During certain times of the year,
Yeah,
you know? So, but yeah, I feel like sometimes people just see you doing something that they want to do and kind of get a little bit in their own feelings about their own, you know, mishaps and things that might hold them back.
Yeah.
And think that, oh, damn, that should be me. I could do that. It's like, yeah, you probably could if you really put your mind to it. But also, people get distracted out here in this world, and they end up doing other things with their time instead of practicing to make themselves better.
Right. So I guess it's like two things that's happening. Obviously, like the scarcity mindset, kind of like crabs in a bucket mentality. You know, the island is small, so it feels like everything is confined and like whatever is there, that's all that is. You know, and they can't see past what they can't reach. Right. So I think they're battling with that, and then in terms of like, you know, we're probably doing a lot of different things where our time, I don't know. I guess it's because, yes, distraction is one thing. We are a party culture. So we just want to sometimes free up and feel good. And not really like grind.
You got to lock in.
Right.
You got to lock in different, because like there's people in other places around the world that are working hard all the time to get better at what they do.
Yeah.
You know, it's not saying that you can't enjoy your life and, you know, have certain leisures. There's always a balance to everything. But at the end of the day, you should always be pushing yourself to be better at whatever it is that you do. I don't care if you're picking up garbage and washing dishes, or if you're a school teacher, or if you're a chef, if you're a DJ, if you're a musician, if you're an athlete. Like, you should always be trying to find a way to refine your skills, because there's other people out there who are doing it. And if you want to be considered the best, like, you have to work harder than the best. You're going to have to beat the best, and you're going to have to be able to compete with them when you come toe to toe with them. There's nothing that you can do otherwise. Like, you could fake it online and do this and do that, but really when it comes down to it, It's just about the work that you do when there's nobody else in the room. That's the most
Correct.
important. That's the most important pain that you put in. You know, there's books. It's almost 2026. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's books, there's online, there's movies, there's podcasts, there's all sorts of ways that people can elevate themselves just from their homes, you know, but you got to really want it.
Yeah. Do you think that we are comfortable? Because you work here in Barbados and you also work in the US. Do you think it's a little bit of comfort level?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a certain comfort level. I think that, yeah, I think people are content. I don't think that necessarily.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah,
It's a more laid back.
which is fine too. Like if you want to be laid back, and that's, you know, there's that sort of path for everyone. But then there's also, I know that there's people out here who want more.
For sure.
I know there's people out here who want to contribute to the future of Barbados and what that looks like. You look around, there's a lot of development happening on the island right now. Everywhere you look, there's a new building here, a new building there. So there's money coming in.
But is it ours though?
I bought my own space. So some of it's ours. You know, what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to entice more global and international people of Caribbean diaspora, especially Bajans, to come home and bring the resources, the knowledge, that money, and bring it back home. Because also I think what people are also lacking out here is resources, tangible resources that they can see and feel and be like, all right, cool, this is attainable. This is something that I didn't think that I could do, but seeing it in this context, it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah. And I think that things got to be a little bit more easier. Like the basic stuff, you know, just getting set up as a business got to be a little bit easier to.
Yeah, definitely. It's a nightmare out here with certain areas of business, especially like when it comes to importing things.
Yeah. Because business of itself is hard. Like the everyday grind of it is really challenging. But you don't want those other things to get set up and get started. You don't want all those hurdles and red tape put in place.
But in life, you're going to get those hurdles. You're going to get that red tape. Like, it's always going to hit you some way or another.
You don't think some is unnecessary, though?
Oh, it's totally unnecessary. But, like, the only way to change that is to see the gaps and then make note of it and go talk to somebody who's got some power.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And figure out how you could communicate some sort of, you know, your thought process and maybe get through a new way of unlocking somebody's train of thought out here.
Right.
You know, I do think that there's a certain mentality with, you know, this is how we do it here. We're not going to change. But I think there's also a level of the next generation and the people who see what's happening internationally and being like, all right, cool. Like, we could evolve past the analog stage a little bit and get to stuff that's a little bit more convenient, a little faster for certain things, not for everything. But yeah, I think there's room for a change of pace.
Right.
But I also, for me, I think that's what's really important is for us to kind of focus the energy into stuff that's more rooted in Barbados and like Caribbean traditions.
Okay.
I think that there's
Unpack that for me, what that means.
I think that there's a lot of Eurocentric vibes in Barbados. And like, yeah, I know that they own a lot of stuff, right? But I feel like when I travel all around the world, from West Africa to East Asia to Europe to South America, Latin America, I've been all over the world, worked at the highest levels with everybody from Audemars Piguet to Cartier to Nike, Instagram, Jordan, Facebook, you name it. I've seen it all. What I don't see in the Caribbean is people just tapping into their roots. There's too many restaurants out here with people doing French food and doing mussels and doing carpaccios with cheese and truffle and arugula. None of that stuff makes sense to me out here because you don't get any of it out here. So like the cost of the food is too high because everything is imported from another place. How come Barbados doesn't focus on foods from the global south? Like, we have this treaty with Guyana for the trade treaty that the PM set up, right? So why doesn't somebody have a place where you're importing all of the exotic fruits from the rainforest in Guyana, and, you know, the best mangoes from St. Vincent and St. Kitts, and the spices from Grenada, and, You know, like having a sort of amalgam of vibes that is strictly rooted in the essence of the people out here, you know, like different curries and different spices and people figuring out how to do food in different ways that is more familiar to them. I feel like somebody in Barbados learning how to make elevated dishes like an elevated curry or elevated doubles or like a new vibe on a roti instead of rolling it up, maybe serving it with like a little bit of whipped young coconut meat and some caviar or something like that. Just taking different interpretations of the same ingredients and making it more fun, you know? I think that it's too much redundancies with the food out here. There's not enough people pushing the needle with certain ingredients, thinking about, oh, look at this pumpkin. How many ways can I make this pumpkin delicious? You know, I could roast it or I could turn it into a sauce or I can make pumpkin chips or I could do different things and I could put them all together on a dish with a little sauce and make that a vibe, you know?
So what you're talking about is using what we have and just remixing it
Have to.
and just go deeper with it.
Yeah, because that's the stuff that's tangible. That's the stuff that's closest to you. It's the cheapest, you know, and probably it's the most familiar. You know, you probably know how to handle sugar cane and Edo and Shadow Benny better than you know how to handle truffle oil and Parmesan cheese, unless you grew up in that sort of environment.
Yeah, that's very interesting though. That's a very, very good point. But I think it goes back to, do we have an identity? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we, as Barbadians, do we have an identity where is the young generation even being educated what that is too? Because we're getting influence from all different parts of the world. And I feel like we're just sailing wherever the wind blows. But are we anchored? Where are we anchored at the end of the day?
Well, I think that's something that we need to work on. I think that's something that people really need to actually focus on out here. You see in West Africa, like Nigeria, Senegal, Ghana, there's like this huge sort of exodus, like a return to home. And then you're seeing a lot of content and fashion and food and music being put on a world stage now. Like, you know, Afro beats is huge. Jollof is like such an international rice at this point, even though it's always been that way, but now you're seeing it on a world stage.
Yeah.
I think that Barbados has the deepest potential when it comes to talent, when it comes to history. I mean, the island is one of the oldest in the Caribbean. We've got the oldest archives for enslaved records and things like that. And then not to mention just like the lineages of families that go back here. You know, the island is rooted in a lot of stories, but I don't think that anybody has brought it to light in a context, anything other than like a Eurocentric vibe. I don't think anything is very black out here. Even though Barbados is a black country, not enough of the businesses speak to blackness. You know, you don't walk in anywhere and feel like, at least personally, that, you know, these spaces were created for us. Maybe in different parts of, you know, in town, and, you know, you go to a rum shop or something like that you might feel that way. But none of the new spaces, the elevated spaces, feel like they have that sort of storytelling and connection to our ancestral lineage.
Yeah.
Where it can be fly, it could be super modern and luxurious and, you know, sexy and delicious, but it could be a little bit more warm in the textures, you know?
Yeah, I think it's a lack of vision. And because I believe that sometimes we can get into the mindset that the only thing that can make us luxury is when we bring a tradition from Europe.
Right.
And that's how we identify as what luxury is. But how can we look within and look at what we have and then make that
correct
luxury?
Well, that's what the real beauty is, right? The colonialism is crazy because like that's really what it's about. It's about like trapping your mind to thinking that you're reliant on this foreign entity, that you need them to survive. But at the end of the day, they built their empires off of the work from our people in these on this same exact land that we stand on. You know?
I need you to be heard, bro. So
Oh, my fault.
because we was saying is these are gems here.
Yeah, I mean, like, all the power is in our hands. Like, our ancestors built the European empires. They built England. They built France and Spain and Portugal, all through sugarcane harvest and tobacco and different sort of exports like that. Obviously, a lot of that was done for free labor. But at the end of the day, it's a whole new day and era where we are in control of our own destinies and our own futures. We can build a business. You can build a business. Like, anybody could build a business. All you have to do is, like, lock in and figure it out. It's not going to be easy, but all the information is online. You can go to websites like, I don't know, like cats like Virgil Abloh. You know, he built the architecture.com, where it's like the whole entire step-by-step on how to build a brand. YouTube links and all, like, just simple, just the basics for you to do, and then you can go on and continue to do the research.
Yeah.
People need to lock into that sort of level of concentration out here. It's like we watching too much Instagram videos, too much TikToks,
Too much consuming.
too much consumerism, when we should be building our own futures and writing our own narratives and controlling that. It's like, it's possible. Like, people from Europe aren't coming to Barbados to experience European traditions.
Yeah.
They want to come here and feel island vibes. They want the flavors. They want the sounds. They want the smells. They want the rhythms. Nobody coming out here, like, cool if some people want to go and listen to the unta, 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 unta. They can go on the West Coast for that.
Yeah.
But, like, even on the West Coast, there should still be places that are rooted in blackness. Like, how come I don't hear Afro beats out here? How come I don't hear enough drums, you know? How come I'm not smelling enough Scotch bonnet pepper? I don't smell enough stuff burning out here, you know? So I don't taste, you know, I want to taste and feel that rhythm. Because if you were to go from here, you go to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, it feels similar. You go to Accra and Ghana, it feels similar to Barbados. You go to Jamaica, it feels similar. But there's just like a connection missing between the actual offerings, the physical offerings that we have here on the island.
Nah, straight facts. And I often ask myself, do we like us?
Bajans love Barbados. Believe in yourself like a Bajan believes in Barbados.
Yeah.
You know, like, you can't tell the Bajan anything about Barbados unless it's a beautiful thing. You say something bad about it, they're gonna talk, they're gonna run their mouth, depending on where you are, you know? But in all reality, most people believe that this is like one of the most beautiful places in the world, and it really is.
Yeah.
You know?
You know what it is? It's like siblings, right? Where, like, they will fight with each other. But if anybody from outside interfere with that sibling, like, the other one can get in.
Correct. It's a fact, though. But that's how everybody needs to believe in themselves and know that they have that same sort of ability to be great.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes a conversation, just a change of thought, just to be like, all right, you know what? Instead of going out tonight and spending that money, I'm gonna order a book on Amazon. And I'm gonna study, or I'm gonna get an audio book and listen to an audio book on how to motivate myself to do something
or pay
new.
for a course.
Yes.
Pay for a course. Like, a bottle of Hennessy is like what? Over $300. Like,
invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Because, like, at the end of the day, once you put that time in on yourself, all that partying and stuff it'll come. And you won't have to, you know, shake your pockets and tap your pockets for the last bit of money you have to go out to the club and go out for drinks. Like, spend that time, sacrifice not going out, stay inside, read,
lock in,
yeah,
lock in,
and you can get out. You know what I'm saying? I work on a 12-week schedule. So basically, there's a book called The 12-Week Year, where you are compartmentalizing your priorities for certain periods.
Deep work.
So instead of thinking about, oh, I have a whole year to do this, it's like, nah, I have to figure this out between January and April. This is the first step. Like, I might have a big goal of doing this, but in order to get there, you got to achieve the little bit of steps that get you to the end result. So I do everything in 12-week spurts. And then after those 12 weeks, I give myself like a little week or two, depending on what the work was like, to reset and get my mind back, and then get
Yeah.
back on that train again for another 12 weeks, and just try to make sure they continue to accomplish little tasks. Because like that,
Some of us have that, but it's the other way around.
yeah,
We do 12 weeks of like
of relaxation
activities,
for and 2 weeks of work.
2 weeks of work. Yeah. But I feel like, I think as I understand it, because I've been there, I understand how it feels to be in a hole. And you just want a little bit of relief. And you want to escape. So then you keep like going out, you keep, whether you pick up a habit, whether it's drinking, whatever, using, whatever, right? Because you just want to escape. But if you could just, like just give yourself a chance by just investing in yourself and tell yourself, all right, listen, I ain't want to see anything for the next 6 weeks, or start small. Just say like locking for like a 3 weeks period or a month, right? And say, all right, I want to read this, I want to watch this, and just think about what kind of learner you are. If you learn by listening, you learn by watching, or you learn by reading. Understand yourself. What is your golden hour? And I say golden hours because, just like some of us, we operate better at night, and then other people operate better in the morning. So analyze yourself and just, okay, when am I my best me? And just dig into that and go deeper and learn. And eventually you can get out the hole.
Yeah, I mean, like it takes like an hour. I try to give myself 2 hours a day.
Right.
1 in the morning and 1 at night. Whatever I take in at night is something that I like consume. So before I go to sleep, it's what's on my mind, and then when I wake up in the morning, I can do a brain dump and get those ideas out, and then keep it pushing. Like if you were to focus 1 hour a day, there's 1 hour of the 24 that you have, 1 hour a day on learning something new. That's 365 hours in a year. Imagine how much better you would be at something after 365 hours.
Crazy.
And that's in 1 year. And that's 1 hour a day. If you do 2 hours a day, that's double, And like obviously there'll be days where you fall off, but there'll also be days where you overdo that time and you like really locked in and you go in a hole and you're like, damn, I've been in here for 4 hours learning about this. Yeah. But when you get that information and you can retain it, later on in life, you can apply it. It's not always going to be like something that you learn immediately that you can apply. Correct. But the information is there.
And if you fall off, like don't lose momentum. Like it's okay to fall off, but don't stay off.
Correct. It's like going to the gym.
Exactly.
It's like literally like going to the gym. If you're gonna focus, like it's not easy. Because if it was easy, everybody would do it. Everybody would look like this. Exactly. But they don't, because like it's easier in the morning to like curl over in your covers and get that other hour of sleep versus getting up and going to train. But it's a mental thing. It's like, all right, cool. I signed a contract with myself that I'm not going to fail. That I'm going to achieve everything that I know I can achieve. I'm going to live the life that I know I'm capable of. I'm going to prove all the haters wrong, and I'm going to prove all my believers right. It's like you got people out there that are rooting for you, that, your moms, your grandma, your family thinks that you believe that you can do it. Yeah. Like those are the people that you have to prove right. And then the haters, like there's cats who are like, man, he be just talking that shit. He's not really going to do it. But then you actually do it and it shuts them up. Yeah. And then that, just like those little things, man, you got to believe in yourself.
Yeah. And when you make those promises to yourself, don't break them, because then it creates a habit of breaking them.
Yeah, and letting yourself down. It's like like make a commitment to yourself. That the first person you're gonna make a commitment to in this world has got to be you. You can't even think that you're gonna get right with somebody else if you're not right with yourself first, right? So you have to change your mentality. You gotta make the sacrifices. You gotta just shift up the way that you think if you want to evolve. Like you can't keep doing the same things and expect new results.
Exactly. That's real talk. And if we're gonna go and work for someone, we're gonna carry ourselves a certain way. You're gonna be doing that for somebody. Why not do it for yourself?
Why not do it for yourself? And even if you have to work a 9 to 5, you work that 9 to 5 and then let that 9 to 5 fund the 5 to 9. Yeah. Once you clock out, then you clock in for your own dream mission, your own passion, and you can work on your project while somebody else is paying you to get through, do the people job, but you don't have to do that forever.
For sure. I mean, that's what you're working towards, right?
Correct.
Freedom. And that's where you gotta like lock in and sacrifice and put it in now, like cry now and laugh later. I find like, as you say, like we just want to enjoy and feel good. But then you crying later though.
Listen,
Let
man,
me be real.
you gotta choose. You gotta choose the sort of the hardships and like the pain that you want to
Which
experience.
part you want?
You want like it's hard to wake up in the morning and go and train, but it's even harder to have to deal with underlying health conditions at the hospital and going to the doctor and
Or can't even walk up a flight of stairs.
any of those things. Like you could easily just get up in the morning and go to the gym and train, hydrate, get good rest, eat food. It's not rocket science, the things that are out there. Everybody knows the things that you need to do in order to take care of yourself. And you might not know everything you need to know in terms of like growing a business, but we all know what we need to do to take care of ourselves. You need to eat. You need to eat 3 square meals a day, be active and exercise for an hour to 45 minutes, 3 to 4 days a week at least, get good rest, drink water. It's not, beyond that, it's up to your own, to your own devices.
Then some people may say, I can't find any time. But if you had to look at your phone and see the screen time, and if you had to take all that time that you were scrolling, you put that in something else, it could pay you way more than you just scrolling.
Way more. And it's that's got to be within you though. You got to really want that for yourself.
Yeah.
But there are people out here, especially in Barbados, that I know want change. They want to see the future of what the potential is out here, and they want to be a part of rewriting the culture and all those things. I think there's a lot of Bajans who have traveled internationally who need to come home and bring those resources here and turn up and show people just like the possibilities and the beauty of the island.
Yeah, facts. And then the other thing too, I mean, one of the reasons why I think it was important for you to come on here is because, yes, you're Bajan, you travel the world, and I find that we don't really highlight the Bajans that go around the world and do amazing things. However, if you got caught with drugs, you'll be in the front page.
I have been caught with drugs and I have been on the front page. Yes, my grandparents and all of my great grands and stuff like that were not very happy, but
right.
Such is this life that we live.
Okay, but you get past that now.
For sure.
Yeah,
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that anymore.
The only reason I brought out though, because I did not know that.
Okay.
That's an exclusive right now.
Things have happened,
Right. So that brings it to my point, right? And we can get back there, but what I mean is like, have you been on the front page for anything else that you've been doing? And you've been doing great things.
Yeah, for sure.
In Barbados.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing I've just been doing a little work out here, man. Now I just recently started this project, Blackstar.
Right.
Blackstar Barbados, which is my radical hospitality company that's going to be based here in Barbados and rooted in the Caribbean and rooted in all these things. And, indigenous ingredients and modern techniques, and I haven't been on the front page per se, but now it's time for me to put that on the world stage.
For sure.
Blackstar, we got something special on the horizon. It's really about being a resource to the people. So for me, the first space that I'm building it's a nonprofit. So like it's not a spot for me to come in here and try to like get money from everybody. Is really I want to build a space where I invite all of my friends and contemporaries from around the world, whether they're big fashion designers to world-class chefs and DJs, artists, musicians, whatever it is, filmmakers, to come here and do workshops with local people. How can we elevate the offerings that we have out here if people don't have access to the resources? Everybody can't fly to Japan to go eat at, Yoshihiro Narisawa's restaurant, which is the #1 restaurant in Asia. But blessed for me in my travels in my life, like I know him and I can hit him up and say, hey, can you come to Barbados and do a workshop, do a fish workshop, maybe for a week or so, or maybe even a day.
Right.
And then allow young cats at Palmarine or even at, local executive chefs at hotels and stuff to come sign up for the workshops, let people internationally even pay to come in. Let those funds continue to fuel the nonprofit and the organization there. But the idea is to build a nonprofit organization that is rooted in teaching people how to get better at certain things.
Right.
And then from there, build actual businesses, brick and mortars, for-profit businesses, where then those people can take those skills that they learned and apply them, get jobs, and serve people at a world-class level, and just elevate the offerings out here.
Brilliant. I don't want to highlight that's what I want to highlight. But still, you just drop it on me. You get whole with drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know where your mind was in that moment, in that period of time.
Man, I was young. So what happened was we did some foolishness, man, and like, that was when we were trying to move the work from overseas out here, and I ended up sending myself a pack, and the boys in blue came in the house, and I had all of my homies here. I actually had my plug from the US, like this Colombian cat, fully tatted head to toe, yellow bone Colombian wife with the whole fake BBL and all that. Like we were all in an apartment together. They were sleeping in their room. I was chilling on the couch with my man. He had just brought me an ounce of weed, and then they came in knocking the door down like, "Yo, we looking for Pierre." I'm like, "Oh no." But at that point, I was like, look, I took, the fault for everything. The judge was honestly very lenient, and she was like, how come you would bring that stuff here when you can get drugs on any corner? I'm like, well, respectfully, I know you can smell it. My stuff was just better. And at that point, that was out here. And at that point, I kind of just realized that I don't need to be doing that. I'm not really trying to end up on the other side of the wall. I know the sky's the limit over here. So, that made me rethink things a little bit. I had a conversation with a friend back home as well, and they were like, look, shift your energy from being focused on the hustle to putting everything into your craft, into what you're doing. So instead of spending time to go and drive stuff across state lines and running these plays and this and that, take all of that and put that into the craft.
So just refocus, retarget.
Take the same tactics, understand it. Like being an independent entrepreneur in the streets, it has a lot of parallels with the actual business world, but you just have to understand it, and then apply yourself to make those changes. Because it's very easy to get some quick money on the phone, but the long term, how long can you really do that without getting caught or getting jammed up in some way, shape, or form? So yeah, I just took the energy, instead of hustling in the streets, I took the hustling to the eats, and
Yeah, I like that. So you just repackage the energy and put it into something else.
Yeah, like literally actually repackage the energy, like repackage it. Like I'm still moving products, but it's just not illegal substances. Now, I'm doing food products. We do products nationwide across America, air fryers, waffle makers, blenders, pots and pans. I've done knife collaborations with Japanese bladesmiths. Press my own olive oil in Italy every year.
Wow.
Sneakers with Jordan, headphones with Beats by Dre. You name it. But now the focus is Barbados. So like I just did the Barbados Union collab with my man Chris Gibbs, who is a Bajan Canadian who owns a streetwear brand called Union in Los Angeles. And I don't know, he's probably on like their 10th Jordan collab by now, like one of the hottest sneaker designers, definitely of the past decade. And he's got Bajan heritage as well. So we did this Barbados Union collab where we did like a little pop-up there where Blackstar did a pop-up on Browns Beach. We did like a little foods and music vibes. Did it in collaboration with Oceana, which is the new school. They're studying marine life and ocean studies.
Was Chris part of the pop-up you did when we were in LA? Remember, that was like what, 3 years ago? 2022?
We've done collabs with him since around that time, so it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris has always been a very big supporter of this whole mission and this whole movement, and I didn't even have to, ask him twice to participate, even though customs grabbed our drip, stopped him at the airport, and we didn't get the t-shirts out. So the customs officer got 170 Barbados Union tees that we need to get out. Somebody help us. But that was honestly just a taste of what the possibilities, the potential is like when we all team up and we work together to bring, vibes and our own spin on what Barbados is to the rest of the world.
Got it. All right. So I feel, all right. So we almost caught up now, but I just want to know, like, what was the first few months or a year was like when you first moved back to America?
Oh, the first few months to the first year after moving back to America from Barbados was very different because I went from Barbados to New York City, and that pace is different. But I think at that time I was ready for it because I just needed, I just want to, pause. I just want to go hard out here. Like, I believe in myself to the point where I'll push myself to the limit to achieve these things because I know it's possible. So like I went out there, I had set up a few job interviews before I moved, and I had the confidence to be like, I'm gonna get one of these jobs. And I ended up getting the first job that I walked into. And from there, honestly, I went from being like a low level cook, even though I had international experience. I went to being like a low level cook, and I worked my way up to a sous chef and et cetera, et cetera. But then I stopped working in the restaurant because I wanted to pursue my own passions outside of just being in the kitchen. So like more along the lines of the entertainment and the events and things like that. So I took a break from working in restaurants maybe after a year, and linked up, well, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, and linked up with my now business partners, John and Les, and started, and we, right around that time, the inception of Ghetto Gastro. Yeah. Okay. And that's like 2000. I met John in around 2012, and then I joined Ghetto Gastro in 2014. Okay.
So Ghetto Gastro existed before, and then you joined later?
Yeah, correct. So Ghetto Gastro, it formed basically like around the time when I met the guys, and then like for a couple years we were just neighbors, honestly, and like literal actual neighbors, and we just built a relationship, and we were actually really cool as friends before getting into business together. It just kind of made sense that we were working kind of like in similar spaces, but just not together. And there was an opportunity for us to team up on something, and we did it, and it was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna just rock with the gang. And we were able to go out and do all the things that we've done.
You don't think that's kind of divine though, like the way how y'all came together?
Yeah, for sure. I think everything is divine though, but you have to work towards that. Like you can't expect good things to come to you. Like you have to work towards your dreams, and then like you'll see the things start to kind of like fall into place. At least that's how I feel.
But you gotta be able to see it too.
You have to see it, and you have to believe it. Because honestly, I've been working on this project that I'm doing right now. The first deck that I built for my project, which is called Blackstar Barbados, the first deck I built for this was in 2014. It is now July 2025. That's 11 years that I have been working on this concept, trying to figure out and make this make this thing happen. Like, all right, cool, I have an overall idea of what I want to happen, but like getting to that point is not as easy as one might think. So being focused on the dream, staying consistent, and then just doing like the little bit of work. Like I had to do a lot of work in between to get to this point, but now that I'm here, it's like everything falls into place. Like
yeah.
Everything.
That's important for people to hear, because sometimes we might build a deck, we got idea, and then it doesn't really happen. Like maybe like in a few months or a year, and people just give up, and then just shift, and they keep shifting things. Like they just give up on the first idea, and they just go on to the next idea, and then we kind of get like this shiny object syndrome.
Yep.
Where we just want to keep hopping to the next thing. But for you built something, you lock into it, you put in small efforts, big efforts, and it just keep,
Well, if you get a no, you got to figure out how to turn that no into a yes, especially if it's something that you want. Like if you're working on something and then somebody's like, nah, that's not it. Why?
Right.
Like, why is it a no? Like, how can I change your mind to make this a yes? And even if they give you a whole laundry list of things that you need to do, that's a laundry list of things that you can work on yourself to be like, all right, cool. The language in this first page wasn't right. The images here didn't match up with the conversation that we were trying to have. All of the things might not have been as good as you thought that they were. So then you got to go back to the drawing board and work on that again.
Yeah.
And then bring it back to somebody else or bring it back to that same person if that's the sort of relationship you have. And then get their feedback and work on it and work on it and work on it and work on it and work on it. Because then once you really there, it's undeniable.
Yeah.
It's
I actually
undeniable.
experienced that. I experienced where I had this dope idea. I believed in it. I was all wrapped up in it. So everything had seemed amazing to me. And then it wasn't really having any breakthroughs. And as time go on, I was starting to realize why. But in the moment you can't. You're not really seeing the faults. You're just thinking that people are just against you.
Yeah.
But then when you look back, it's like, I could have really do this better though.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's like people aren't against you. Like the first thing that everybody has to do is they have to release the ego, the pride, put all that out, leave all that at the door when you cross that threshold, and just come into it with a more open mind. It's not like somebody's telling you something against you personally, unless you did something to them personally.
Right.
Any feedback somebody's going to give you should be about what they're looking at, and then you should be able to understand that you might not know everything. Because if you did, then you wouldn't have to ask people for help.
Wow. Yeah.
So
Facts.
until you get to the point where everybody's asking you how you doing what you've done, then you should be humble enough to ask people how to get to that point and then work on it. You have to work on it. Like, you can't just go to the gym and buy muscles. You have to go to the gym and you got to train and you have to be consistent and you have to eat right, sleep right, all of that. And then you'll see the results.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the work. Like you have to put in that pain and you have to go back and make revisions and you have to look at the computer screen sometimes until your eyes close, and you have to ask your mom what she thinks, ask your neighbor what they think, ask somebody who's more successful it doesn't have to be at the same business as you. Somebody who's doing well in some sort of business, ask them what they think.
Yeah.
Because they know business.
Yeah.
They don't have to, it could be a person who's a welder who owns a catering company. But if the business model makes sense, if anybody random could look at it and be like, yeah, I understand it, then you've achieved probably what it is that you're setting out to. But if you can't get everybody in your community to get on board with what you're doing, then you need to continue to work on it.
Yeah, it goes back to choosing your heart. Like if you approach someone with an idea and you get turned down, it's gonna feel bad. It's gonna feel hard, right? And then you got two things. Like you could either go and sulk and give up on it, and then you're still gonna like not live the dream, or you can work hard at really getting someone to say yes.
Yeah, and like that's where I am right now. I pitched in 2014. I pitched this to a certain entity here in Barbados. A 5-letter entity, and
5 letters. Okay.
And they basically never really responded, got on board, et cetera, to the point now where like I have all the resources and everything that I need that I don't necessarily even need these people. It's like, all right, cool. Y'all weren't on board back then, but now I got all of these people on board now. And now you're going to be on the outside looking in because you didn't want to get with it. And I think that if I were to have just accepted the lack of feedback and also lack of cooperation with certain people, that I would have stopped. But I'm like, you know what? Nah. Like I see the thing and I still haven't seen anybody do it yet. Still to this day, I have seen this for over 15 years now. I've been looking at this void and I'm like, yo, how come nobody is doing anything black in Barbados?
Maybe it's yours.
I think it has to be. You know, I think I'm bold enough. I got the resources, I got the skills, I got the community, and I would love to be the one who sparks that fire within us that is like, all right, cool, like, yeah, we could do that.
And that's the other thing, right? Like when God give you a vision, he give it to you, not to other people. So maybe it's a situation where you got to get it to a point where other people could then start to get a little glimpse of what the vision is.
Correct.
But you got to get started.
Yeah, no, definitely. You have to give them a taste and show them what's achievable, and then also what you're talking about, because it might sound good, but then
But can you produce it?
but how does that actually spill out when it comes to the real world?
Yeah.
But yeah, we like when we came out here, man, I hosted an architecture and design competition from the end of June for Lyceum. It's called Lyceum Fellowship. Basically, architecture and design students from all around America could compete for like the prize money. And, you know, it was the first, second, third place prize. A guy from UCLA won, given new designs for building structures here in Barbados, basically around the concept of creating this hub for creativity. So at the end of June, we hosted this architecture and design competition. Then we built out the food truck and partially built out the physical space for Blackstar. Did a 3-day pop-up there on Browns Beach. Then we did a workshop with the kids at the Oceana at the school there, about sustainability, about fish, and about how to use local resources in different ways to make new things. And, you know, we were able to really insert ourselves in different areas of the island, and also incorporate our international audience in the same breath. So I think that hopefully after just this was just like a quick short stint, you know, it was a month that we did all that in.
Yeah.
And I hope that bit of traction at least shows people how serious that we are when it comes to what we come in here to do.
Yeah. I mean, you started, and I had a little bit of the experience on Browns Beach. Yeah. So when it was trying to eat everything, and that was when he met you.
Just stuffing your face, look. But that's really what it's about. It's about showing up and like walking it like you talk it, putting your money where your mouth is. You know, I had to come up out of pocket for a lot of that.
Yeah.
But to me, it was worth it because people got to taste the vibes and see just like a glimpse into what the vision is. Like, I don't think that, I mean, please don't think that what I came here and did on the beach was by any means like my best foot forward. Like, there's so much more where that came from.
Yeah, but you're just creeping right now.
Just creeping in.
But I mean, like when we look at what you've been doing around the world, I mean, we could tell that you kind of like just hold back a little bit, which is fine. But the real question I got for you is all the waves that you've been sending and doing, and all the accolades you get from America and so on, and different parts of the world. You put that energy and that effort over there, the rewards, it's very easy to think that the rewards would be way greater. What was making you come to Barbados to then put all that energy there, and it's still not like for sure?
To me, it's for sure. I believe in Barbados to the point where I have put all of my eggs in this basket. I have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars here of my own money that I could go and be doing other things with, but I believe in the potential of this island. I think that you just have to. Like, in order to like achieve it, man, you gotta believe it. So you just gotta go all in. And I don't think that anybody else has done it yet. You know, and for me, that's something that drives me, is like there's just the potential here for this. And it's not rocket science. Like, I'm not trying to like change the trajectory of how people, actually, no, I actually am. I am actually trying to change the trajectory of how people think about food,
mindset,
and how people look at ingredients and just like life. Like, yo, why are we spending so much money and so much effort to do things that are foreign to us? Like, spend less money on things, and spend less money and more time on things that are rooted in things that are familiar to you.
Right.
And it will come so much easier. I feel like people are forcing it too much out here, trying to try to do stuff that they don't know. It's like, yo, you don't know anything about escargot. Like, why are you even making it? There's no snails out here. You're gonna eat eating these big African snails off of a wall? Nah. So like, we just gotta shift the focus a little bit and bring it back to stuff that we haven't learned, which is crazy because it's like you haven't been taught this. But you can teach yourself anything that you want to learn. Like, you just have to like literally type it in on Google or Chat GPT, and like you ask Chat GPT a question. Chat GPT, tell me 4 books that can tell me about the history of Barbados over a certain period of time. All right, cool. You know, and then they'll give you a list and you can start doing your research from there, or whatever is important to you. You know, the information is out there. The ability is really literally at our fingertips. So if it's what you want, you're going to do it. And like, this is all I want to do right now. I want to bring my energy that I've been creating all over the world for all these other people and bring it back home, because to me, this is where the real win is. Like, this is the real prize. I don't do things for awards and accolades. You know, to me, like, the most important thing is getting the people that I love, getting confirmation from them. Like, I could care less about like these big awards. For me, it's like, all right, cool. Beachman over here, jacking a tuna burger, then cool. Like, to me, that's important, because it's something that's not familiar to them and that they're trying, and they're like, yeah, I like that. Bring more of that. You know, it's something new, but yet it's familiar. It's like a fish cutter on this island is, you can find them anywhere. You know, a cutter on the island is anywhere. But has anybody reimagined a fish sandwich outside of just fried marlin in between a salt bread with lettuce and tomato? But like, that's what we came out here and did. We just did a tuna burger. We got some beautiful A1 grade tuna that was caught out here in Barbados, the stuff that they would literally usually ship back to America for sushi chefs to use at a top price. We kept it here and turned it into tuna burgers and served it with barbecue sauce and mustard. I think we had some coleslaw on it, and some of them we did like with pickles and whatnot. But like, it was a burger reimagined using the ingredients that are native to the land, you know? And that's what we got to do. It's like, you don't have to do the most, but just try something different with the things that you have. And like, there's books out there. Books are not expensive. A book, it costs less to buy a book than it costs to go into a club and drink for a night.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, but you read a book, it could help change the whole entire way that you think, the way that you do business. You know, you don't have to read all of the books, but you can read some books.
Yeah.
It's cool to read books.
So
listen to them.
Yeah, for sure. The theme that I've been getting from you this far is or this whole conversation is using what you have and just reimagine it.
Yeah.
And just go deeper with it, instead of like trying to just leave the shore and find all these different things that you may not even be the best at, because there's millions of people are already doing that. So we already have things to us that are unique. Why not just use that?
Yeah. I think that there's like, even just going around the island, right, while I've been here doing this pop-up and searching for certain things, you know, like, there aren't, to my knowledge, you know, there's probably a couple potters out here, maybe a couple ceramicists, but like people who are doing like woodwork, you know, they're doing one kind of woodwork. They're making like little trinkets for souvenirs for people to bring home at like a duty-free shop or something like that. But when I walked into a shop the other day and I asked the man if he could start making mahogany bowls for me, and cutlery and spoons and forks and plates that look like this, and I was showing him images, he was like, because I could see what he's doing. He can make everything. He making little keychains. He making like little this, making little that. And he was like, man, I don't know. And then I saw some things in his space. I was like, nah, something like this. But you could just change the lip on the bowl, on the plate, or something like that. And he started to think like, okay, I could try that. I could do something different than what I'm doing with the same things that I have. Because now at this point, it's like, all right, cool. You making, I don't know, wooden flying fish for somebody to put on their mantle. Imagine if you were making mahogany bowls and cutlery and plateware that people could take home with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know how much money people spend on things like that? You know, like those are real takeaways that people, restaurants could use, hotels could use, you know, but then also people who are coming in and out of the island would take something like that with them home, be like, yo, I got these mahogany bowls made in Barbados, handcrafted in Barbados, you know, just thinking about different ways to approach the craft that's not, that hasn't, that you know, avenues that haven't been tapped yet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
And that's why there's a department of thinkers that we have to plug into. Because you see how you came and you like spot an idea and you give it to him. I mean, that's something that he couldn't see because he was in the frame, and it's hard to see the picture when you're in the frame. So that's why like thinkers are important. And if we had to like set up a structure where like there's companies that have like a floor full of people who their job is just to come up with the next thing. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So you got like the doers who have to do the daily tasks. But it's hard to be doing that and then still thinking about what's next. So you got a group of people that their job is that, and that's why I feel we are lacking. We are lacking these strategists. We are lacking these thinkers because we are not putting value behind that. We believe that the work is just like working, like putting our hands to work is like colonial belief.
This it is. It's just like that. It's like that whole mindset. But like, really, what we have to do now is just call to the community, to the, you know, all the Barbadians, all the international Caribbeans who are working in different parts of the world that want to come home, because I know a lot of people want to come home. I know people want to come home right now. It's literally, it's paradise here. And like in other parts of the world, it's not as cute. And also remote work is real. So everybody doesn't have to go into the office 9 to 5 every single day anymore and things like that. So I think there's a lot of people who want to come home and who want a reason to come home, and doing things like this project Blackstar is really what that's about, right? It's like, you know, I might have gone to the woodsmith and talked to him about maybe offering something else, but there's other people in different spaces that can see the gaps out here, that just by having a conversation with somebody can change just their belief system and what they do. I'll just say that I've done a lot of work with Rick Owens and his wife Michelle and me over the past decade, right? And Michelle does really amazing furniture, and she doesn't make furniture, but she has a vision on the design and the aesthetic and stuff like that. So one day I went to her factory when she was making them. She was doing a show out in Los Angeles. I think this was maybe around the time that I saw you. And I saw her fabricating with the guy that she was working with, that was pouring the concrete and the cement and the chairs and stuff like that. And I asked him how long he was making furniture. He was like, nah, I was an engineer. I was bending metals and stuff like that. But she saw me bending metal and asked me if I can make, or if I could pour a concrete chair for her, or if I could do this. And I was like, yeah, I could do it. And now I'm making furniture for her. But before I was bending mufflers, you know? So it's like, there's people out there, and we all exist. There's people who exist. Like I'm not the only one. You're not the only one. You know, there's people like Sam Ross out in the UK who's winning all sorts of global awards on design and fashion and this and that. He's got Barbadian lineage. Ev Bravado from Who Decides War, he's got Barbadian lineage. Lena Waithe, you know, I mean, the list honestly goes. Riri Rockies, you know, people like us, you know, Skylar Marshai, you know, like literally, like there's so many cool creatives out there that exist that just have Bajan lineage, not let alone West Indian heritage. You know, like we need to just come back, connect with the people a little bit more, and figure out how we could add a little bit of value. It doesn't always have to be tangible things. Like I'm not about to go and make wood bowls, you know, but searching around the island for something and not seeing it, and then seeing somebody who could do that, and then just being like, yo, man, you ever think about making wooden bowls? Because nobody's selling them out here. He was like, yeah, actually, that's a good idea. I could work on that. Send me some ideas. Send me some pictures of some things and I'll work on it. You know, it wasn't a big back and forth. It wasn't, nah, man, I can't do that. You wasting your time trying to, it was like, nah, you know what? that's something I could think about. I could try that.
Yeah.
You know, so there's people who are open to it. So in my opinion is like everybody needs to come home. Even if it's for a week or two, just come and see what's going on and figure out how you can be of a added value to
For sure.
to the place where we get so much of our history from.
Yeah. And I feel it has to be okay with you not being the main character.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
everybody don't have to be the star, because there's things you could come back here and you can spot, and you could drive energy and inspiration into somebody and just watch it flourish.
Yeah, the highest act is to inspire. You know, I aspire to inspire people.
Yeah.
I don't like, you know, it doesn't have to be me, but I just want to see it happen.
For sure.
Like, you know, like you not mixing music and DJing and playing at parties and
I
doing
used
things
to.
like that. But you were like, look, this could be somebody else.
Yeah.
Somebody else can do that. I can deal with other things, because like you don't have to do everything, but like just being able to have a vision and be like, look, this is something that's lacking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody do that.
And I had a conversation with someone on the plane. I was coming back home, and that was the first time I experienced first class or business class. And this I mean, like, I got more than what I paid for sure, because of the advice that I got from the person I was sitting next to. You understand? So that's why it's like proximity is important.
Very
so
much.
put yourself in rooms and spaces with people that are on a certain level and have the experience. So when I explained I was in marketing and branding, and I was doing this and doing that and everything, and then it was like, yo, just when you go back, just look for somebody or someone, a product or a person that you can market and brand, and you have a percentage of that. You don't have to be there. Like, you could look for a baker, like look for the hottest baker in the neighborhood, and you don't gotta be in the kitchen doing that. Let them do that.
Correct.
And then you come and you bring your strategy and your brain, your thinking, and blow that product up. Collaboration.
Correct.
So I don't have to be the star. The same way how, so when I came back, I was DJing and I was in shipping and doing all these things. And then obviously found Puffy, and I put all that effort into him. And then I treated that like he was a business and an artist that was already blown up. And then he walked into that purpose.
And it was, and you know, the writing was on the wall at that point.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like a lot of people don't see, obviously people aren't everybody's not thinking as big, you know, everybody's not thinking as long term. But
I think a long game every day.
always, you know, it's like, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So like, you got to
telling
think
you.
about 5-10 years down the road, how you want things to shape out. And then for the next 5-10 years, you're working on all those things to get to that point, you know, but you know, it doesn't always have to be you. You don't have to be at the center of things. Honestly, it's honestly better when you're not necessarily at the center of things and things are just happening,
I'm telling you.
you know? So
right now I'm trying to be quiet rich.
yeah, I mean, like that's really the thing. You don't want people to know you got money or people to know that you got certain things, but it's good to be able to be of a resource to people.
Yeah,
That's
for
not
sure.
monetary, you know? It's like, all right, cool. I don't have to give you a bunch of money in order for you to evolve or try something different. We just have to have a conversation.
All right, before we land the plane, because I know you gotta leave soon, just a few questions I had on my mind. Being that you grew up in Barbados, when you went to the US, did you feel like you had to work extra hard because you didn't grow up there? When you walk into rooms and stuff like that?
All right, so I did grow up in the US. I spent more time, I went to school in the US as a youth, right? So I grew up there. But for me, being black in America is already, you have a chip on your back. So, and then my father was an immigrant. So for him, he always embedded that you have to work harder than everybody. In order to be the best, you have to beat the best. But that's all he used to tell me when I was young. So like that work ethic was embedded in me from the time I was young. And yeah, I did find that I had to work harder, but like you always are going to have to work harder than people if you want to be ahead of them. Whether if you're from the islands or if you're from America or if you're from Europe or whatever it is, like it's a competition out here, You're in competition with yourself every single day. But at the end of the day, there's other people who are working in the similar fields and trying to do things similar to along the lines that you're trying to do. What I did differently was I figured out how I could differentiate myself from what I was seeing in the spaces. So at the time, it was like a lot of old white guys as chefs who are out of shape. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm young, I'm black, I'm cool, I'm in shape. I'm making food that's good for you, that's still really tasty and beautiful and delicious and all the things, but it's not full of heavy cream and butter and it's not this what you're used to,
Right.
And
Because I was just gonna ask you, like, how do you be so much into food and eating and still stay in shape? But
well, I control everything I put in my body,
Right.
So I make a lot of my own food, but then also when I eat out, I also order accordingly because I want to look good for a long time. So I eat accordingly. Of course, there's like room where you can like live a little bit, have some dessert, have some sugar, have a little whatever, indulge whatever your vices may be. But in general, it's like I'm eating good so I can look good, so I can cook good, and this is a forever thing.
yeah. So when you in rooms with these celebrities, because you being around these celebrities, these socialites and all that, have you ever felt like, man, I don't really belong here, or if it just feel like a blessing to be here?
Yeah, never in my life did I, maybe, if I was in a room full of like old British white guys, but even then I feel like I belong in any room I step in. I just have confidence in myself. Like, there's a reason why I'm here. Anybody else could be here, but if I'm here, there's a reason why I'm here. So you have to believe that you're in a room for a reason. You should know what that reason is, even if nobody else understands why. And yeah, just continue to face, just continue to just go hard on the mission. Like, believe in yourself, man. Like, and then try. Ask people for help. Like, don't be afraid to be humble and say, hey, I don't know how to do this. I've never done this before, but I see you've done it. Can you give me a little bit of advice on how to move? Like, they don't have to figure the whole thing out for you, but somebody will give you a piece of advice that you can take and apply and then go on from there. But like, take the information that people who are more successful than you are giving you, apply it, and then see how it spells out. But for the most part, that's what I've been doing since day one, and here we are.
Right. So my last question to you, because you are a family man, entrepreneur. I want to know, like, how you found yourself balancing you two, being like so driven, but yet still be able to have a wife and two kids.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that you're doing it a great job.
Yeah. I think for me, being a family man that's my rock. That's like my earth. Those are my ribs.
And you're making it look cool too.
It's fun, man. It's fun. I feel like for so long, people are like, oh, no, you can't have kids. And like, you can't bring your kids to do this and they can't do that. My kids come with me everywhere. My kids have been to museum exhibitions, art shows, nice restaurants. They know how to act in those spaces. So it's not unfamiliar to them. But if you were to leave your kid inside the house all the time, then when they come out, they don't know how to act. So for me, it's like, how do we change some of the traditions and create our own sort of lifestyles and realities that we want to live? My wife is my business partner. She's like my right hand. Like, I honestly can't do anything without her. She's the executive producer, chief of staff of my family, of my life. But we're just able to understand that there's certain things that we want and we're not really gonna make any amends outside of like getting to those dreams. But it's like, family first and then the mission, but like they're right hand in hand. Like, I might need to step away for a week or two to go and do this, but my wife will take care of the kids, and then I'll make sure that I spend 3 weeks or so at least with my kids after being away for a period, just to make sure that I'm not missing out on important things and, putting the family first. And honestly, when I put them first, everything else kind of falls into place. Like, I'm not chasing all this other these other distractions. It's more about how can I be right with myself within, make sure I go to the gym, make sure I get like a little time to meditate, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you know, on a daily, you know, and then from there, it's like, look, take care of your family. A man who can't take care of his family can't be rich, you know? So you gotta start there. And then business and all those things come, like the universe is gonna reward your diligence. So if you're taking care of your family, you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your work, like all that stuff is gonna fall into place. You just have to keep working.
Nice. That's a good note to end on.
Word.
Thanks for coming through, Pete.
Fire, bro. Thank you for having me.
Respect.
Glad to be here.
All right, that's a wrap.
Wrap it up.
Cut. This project is made possible in part by the Cultural Industries Development Fund of the National Cultural Foundation of Barbados.